on.
Great. I was right in the middle of typing something, but I'm back. So welcome to the Friday edition of Richardson Plano Networking. And today we have a special guest, Dave Roberts. And so I'm going to kind of play with what David wrote a little bit, just to have a little bit of fun. But obviously for all of us, much has changed. And he wrote temporarily, but some things are actually changing permanently. For the good, I think. New ways for us to do old things and some old ways to do new things. And they will emerge as we venture out into the new world. Dave's going to talk about those and maybe how we can take advantage of it. During today's session, Dave will share insights gleaned from our shared shutdown experience, including highlights from our speakers over the last month. And just for fun, the word gleaned is actually a biblical term. And for those of you who know, I know little of the Bible, but gleaned, they granted the widows and the women the opportunity to go through the fields after the harvest was harvested. And they were able to glean the leftovers, the seeds and the fruit and the vegetables and the grain. So David's going to glean from everything that he's seen and we've seen. Dave Roberts, as you know, is known as the worldwide vision warrior. He's got a unique vision and has dedicated his life to changing the world one dream at a time for us and for others that we work with by helping aspiring leaders discover, clarify, and progress toward their dream vision, because you have to know what your dream vision is first, and he can help you define that. He's creator of the Vision Challenge, which is kind of how you figure that out. The host of one of the fastest growing podcasts, Warrior versus Zombie, with some great theme music, and author of the soon-to-be bestseller, Vision Warrior Survive and Thrive During the Zombie Apocalypse. And I'll skip all the other stuff about his past. So let's just put our hands together and welcome our speaker today, Dave Roberts.
Thank you, Randy, and that was an awesome job. I know, you've done that a few times, and so it's hard to be creative every time, but that was awesome. I appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen here and bring up. I only have 6 slides, so well, I think I'm going to share my screen. Let me see here. What's it? Are you guys seeing my screen? No, sorry.
Yeah, well, we see the mountains in the background and stay connected and thrive.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We'll get it here. How about that?
Now we got it.
Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this is a series, and it started when we started the whole COVID-19 thing, and we started doing it via Zoom. We came up with this theme or series that we called Stay Connected and Thrive in COVID-19. And so now we're kind of segueing to, in the next series of talks on Fridays, we're going to move into what I call Stay Connected and Thrive beyond COVID-19. And so what that really means, and Randy kind of hit the nail on the head with even his edit to my word, is there is going to be a new normal. There is things that are going to change. And if you were around a month ago when I talked about did the first in this series, and that's what I'm doing here, is kind of teeing up the next in the series, is that I kind of told you my story back of 2008 and how that financial crash devastated me, changed my world, and changed a lot of people's world, and we'll talk about that a little more. So I think it's really important for us to really figure out, number one, where are you at this point? Today I have a lot more questions for you than answers, and so hopefully you've had a chance to download the worksheet that I've put out on both the private Facebook group, as well as I sent to those who are in our meetup group via special email yesterday. If you don't have that, you can download it later, answer these questions. I'm going to walk through portions of it and kind of give you some insight as to what it is and why we're doing it. Before I move beyond off of this slide, the main thing you need to think about right now, one of the most powerful tools, in fact, I think one of the most powerful tools you have in moving forward is your ability to be self-aware and self-observant. That's a capability that comes with your frontal lobe. As a human being, we're able to think about what we feel. We're able to think about what we do. And so it's really important in this emerging, and I'm going to say emerging from COVID-19 or any time in your life, but especially important right now, is to really get in touch with where you're at. And I say where you're at, I've asked you some questions. Where am I now as we emerge from COVID-19? And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I feel versus what I think. But if we're really thinking about how we feel today, then we should be thinking about just being in touch with how I feel. Are you fearful? If you're fearful, check that. If you're hopeful, check that. If you're determined, cautious. And then the bigger question is, once you've kind of gotten in touch with your feelings, then understand from your feelings why. Why are you there? And ask that question. And then in this worksheet, you can write down just some notes about why. This is an exercise of self connection. And it's very important to understand that, because frankly, if you don't know where you're at and what you're feeling and are not thinking about what you're feeling, then essentially you are in zombie mode. You've heard if you've heard me before, you know that I believe we're all warriors, and I believe you're all warriors, but I also believe we're all infected by the zombie virus, which is basically when you're not thinking about what you're feeling or you're not thinking about what you're doing, then you're on autopilot. And as I've told you before, we think 60 to 70,000 process 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and there's some people even say more than that. And 95% of those thoughts are actually the same thoughts you thought yesterday. Now, what that means is, if you haven't continued to stay connected through this COVID-19 and then looking forward with yourself, you're very easily continuing to think about the same things you thought before this started, which, as Randy pointed out in the introduction, some of those things are not going to serve you very well going forward. So the point is, realize what you're feeling and then begin to think about why you're feeling that way. And then what you're going to do about it obviously comes after that. One of the things Randy mentioned, and interestingly enough, one of our talks when Shannon spoke for us last week, we talked about goals and things like that. And actually, what I'm going to talk about is not, the vision is also part of structuring your goals, but knowing where you're at. If you go to a mall and you try to find a store, and they say, okay, you look at the map and you say the store is here, and it looks, and you can see that there's a dot. That's where the store is. What's the main thing you need to know if you're going to get from where you're at to there? You need to know where you're at. So it's important to understand at this point in our journey in emerging from COVID-19 is, where are you? So answer those questions and then think about it. The other thing is, are you still spending a lot of time in where you're at wondering how this all happened? If that's all you want to think about, if that's all you want to talk about, I see a lot of posts, I see a lot of people saying, well, this group caused this, it serves this group, it serves that group. There's all kinds of noise and politics and all that stuff. And all of those things are, in my opinion, unless you're actually going to go out personally and lead the charge to change some of that, because of you've inspired to do that, are not going to serve you well. But anyway, if that's what you're wondering, why this all happened, then again, be aware of that. The other thing is, are you ready to move on? Now, there may be a number of reasons why you're ready to move on. Maybe you're excited because you see opportunities. Maybe you're stressed about being locked up or, whatever. But the key is, are you ready to move on? You may or may not be. By the way, there's no right or wrong. This is not your writing, and this isn't, I'm telling you what to put in the blank, okay? Like some of the speakers that have worksheets and stuff. Okay, this is what you put in the blank. No, you put in this blank exactly your answer to that question, and there's no right or wrong. Your answer is your answer. This is your thing. Do you wish things would return to normal? This is a huge question, because the question is, what is normal? If the way you define, if when you say, I wish things would return back to normal, then the question is, how are you going to define that? And the reality of it is, the normal that we're going to emerge out of COVID-19 and out of this is not the same normal that happened before it. You with me? So basically what that means is, as we go forward, is we have to really be thinking forward. And when you're pulling back, I said this in my first talk, when your mind is continually focusing on trying to get back to the way things were, then that, for the most part, is your zombie mind pulling you back into your comfort zone. Now, I'm not suggesting that getting back to where I can hang out with my kids and my grandkids and not worry about them getting, some kind of virus, or, worrying about all that stuff, that isn't something worth wanting to get back to. Don't misunderstand. But if your whole thing is, this is all, I'm not comfortable, I don't want to be here, all I want to do is get back to where I'm comfortable again, then again, that's not your warrior mind, that's your zombie mind. Okay. So I want you to think about, okay, am I ready to move on? Do I wish things would return to normal? Or the last one is, as I look at COVID-19, this is one of the places I'm at, and I'm not saying you have to be here, is I'm at a place where I'm saying I'm determined to find and create new opportunities. Now, what that means to me is, when I got devastated in 2008 and I lost a few $1 million, it rocked my world, everything changed. I spent a lot of time with the wrong answers, or my answers to these questions would have been maybe what some of your answers are. And all I wanted to do was get back to that normal. When then I realized that getting back to that was not where I was meant to be. But the question is, are you determined to find and or create new opportunities? If so, why? What is it that's driving you? The important thing that you're going to keep hearing over and over through this talk, and as we move out of this talk, and as you actually hopefully do something with what I'm sharing today, is, what are you going to do with it? So you need to think about that. The answer, in other words, the first thing is, be authentic and answer the question honestly. Don't kid yourself. Sometimes we're our worst enemies because we tell ourselves things that aren't true. So be honest, and then say, okay, why do I feel that way? And what am I going to do that? So let's go to the next slide. And again, it's just, the question is, are you committed at this point to just survive? Are you just going to be glad when you get out of this? Maybe if you had, your job was furloughed and you want to get your job back, and you survived it and made it through, and that's good. Okay, so that's a decision. So this, I'm going to say, is what I call a warrior wellness check. And here's another point of check-in for yourself. And this will help you as you begin to think about what you've got to work with and what you need to work on as you move forward with regard to emerging from COVID-19 and thriving. So I submit that we all should strive to thrive as opposed to just survive beyond this point. Surviving is good, but thriving is better. So first of all, in each of these categories on a scale of 1 to 10, and I've listed the things, if you've ever done the vision challenge and said, if anything were possible, this is where I would like to be. And some of you have gone through that and have incredibly inspiring visions of your future. And I love seeing those. And I love becoming a warrior for people that are on the journey to something better. But the real thing right now is remember, where are you? I am here. So where's your physical health? Is it better on a scale of 1 to 10? Is that one of your assets? Is that a 10 or is that a 1? Is that something that going forward you're going to have to work on? Same thing with mental health. And I don't mean like, but psychologically, your mindset. Are you finding yourself depressed or anxious or worried or fearful? Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, are you, you know, Lloyd mentioned positive mindset, all that stuff. Great. Good words, but really, where are you? Where are you on that scale from a 1 to 10? The third thing is your spiritual health. And again, this isn't about a church. This isn't about a religion. This is just about you are connected to a life purpose and a source that's beyond yourself. Where are you at with that? Do you feel like you are connected, that you've got resources to draw on spiritually or emotionally beyond yourself? Your life partner relationship, whatever that is, it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, uh, just a good friend, whatever it happens to be, it's not important. But where is that? Where are you in that? The family, your close friends. I'm not going to go through each one. Your clients and your partners, your community, your network, your finances, your business operations, working. Like, go into each one of these, and again, be honest with yourself and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I positioned? How am I positioned now as I'm going to emerge from COVID-19? And then what things can I think about and capitalize on? Okay, so again, you can either see this as an opportunity and just waiting for things to happen and survive, or you can thrive. Next thing I want to talk about is a warrior focus. So when you look at those, and after you've gone through this, and I know going through this, unless you did it in advance, you haven't scored each of those. But when you look at all of those areas, those areas in your life, which two are the most inspiring to you? In other words, you get a lot of source of energy. For me, you guys are a source of energy. My network, when I look at the 1 to 10 source of my network, it's very inspiring to me. I know that I've got money in that account. I know I've got resources in that account because I've invested in that. So that's a strength. But maybe it's not for you. Okay, so the key is, what are the two areas that are most inspiring? Maybe it's your health. Maybe you're really healthy, and maybe you're in the health business, maybe not. Maybe your relationships are great, your experiences are great, your life experiences. Maybe you're like Lisa Head and you're can't wait to go travel, and you've got that figured out. And maybe you go into and say, okay, that's inspiring to me, and it continues to be inspiring to me. And then the other side of that coin is, everything in your life either inspires you or expires you. If those have been around for a long time, I have a talk, or rather look at the environments of your life, and I draw it like a wheel, and I say everything in your life either adds energy in, think of it as a tire, either puts air in your tire or it drains air out of your tire, and it doesn't really matter which one. So if you've got two areas that inspire you, and I'm not saying you have to limit it, but I really want you to have a warrior focus as we move through this. Here's the two areas that I'm really inspired to take forward with a warrior energy going into post COVID-19, going forward. And then here are the two areas that I've got to shore up because they're draining energy from me. And the thing is, if it's your finances or your relationships or your health or your spiritual or your, whatever, and those are draining energy from you, they impact your ability to really deploy your strengths as well. So again, if they work together. So what are the two most expiring. And then interestingly enough, once you've done these things, then what I want you to do is think of, this is kind of a bottom lining exercise. If I put all that together now and I've kind of thought about where I am and how I'm feeling, and I've really become self-observant, self-aware, kind of know where I'm at, and I'm thinking about where I want to go from here, is what are the two things that you've learned through this? You probably learned a lot of things. I know I've learned a ton of things. I learned that it isn't about social distancing. When Sean Murphy said in his talk, it was brilliant. And we had that conversation a little before, but he said it again in his talk, and I thought it was perfect, is that this isn't about social distancing. We're not going forward with a plan to socially distance. It is actually physical distancing while staying socially connected. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's an important thing. So as you think about in your life, and again, your life is your life. I can't argue with your testimony. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of the things I know that, Mark Dietrich and people, they're in wellness or they're in businesses where you can't make statements about, hey, this will cure this disease or this will cure that disease or anything like that, right? But health is very important. And if you've had an experience where you've done something that has enabled you to achieve something and you want to share that with somebody, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong. Nobody can argue with that. Nobody can argue with the fact that I took an approach of taking a ketogenic diet and started cleaning up my diet. And you can't argue with me that that is actually something that resulted in me losing 70 pounds and being off of, wow, sorry about that, being off of all medications and a number of things. So, again, that's it. So what two things have you learned? Again, it's not open for debate. It's what have you learned? The next one is probably one of the most important things. And I love this picture of teamwork because, as I've said before, life is a team sport. We're a network. We invest in our network for a reason. We need to surround ourselves with people that are good at what we do. But the most important thing is, what actions are you going to take? And then this worksheet, it says, number 4 is, what actions will I make or take to move forward and thrive? These are things that what am I going to start? Maybe it's something that I've never done before, or maybe it's something I'm going to double down or do more in. The second thing is, what am I going to stop? I can tell you some things in my life that I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go through the list, but I have got a list of things that I'm going to reduce. One of them is unsubscribe to a lot of emails. One of the things is, when you opt in and you get information and you're as connected as I am, I realize I spend a lot of time filtering through information, and especially in this time, because everybody's blowing up your email, everybody's blowing up your social media. The digital marketer, Tyler here, I'll tell you right now, I don't care which platform you're talking about. If you're automating and blowing things at me every day, eventually, I don't care how good your stuff is, I'm going to turn you off. And so the key is, that's happening all over. But that's just one thing. That's just an example of things. So what am I going to stop? What am I going to reduce? And most importantly, in my opinion, what am I going to appreciate more going forward? One of the things you guys know about this group, and you've heard me say it, and this isn't something I just say, guys, this is something that I always say from the heart. I appreciate your willingness to invest your most valuable asset, and I've never appreciated it more, your most valuable asset being your time, of course. I've never appreciated it more than I appreciate it now, having gone through this, because of the physical separation, because of the effort that some of you have taken to be and continue to be part of my life. The same thing with my family. One of the beauties of this Zoom thing, which I was using well before this to meet with clients virtually and things like that, is when this all happened, I couldn't connect. My kids are scattered. I got 5 kids, and they're in Washington, they're in Austin, they're in Denton, they're in Houston. They're all over. I am more connected and appreciate family time more now because we have a Zoom call every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and we are more connected. So I have learned to reappreciate the value of family, the value of connection, the value of the people that are in my life. But what are you? This is not what about me. I'm just giving you an example for me. But what does this mean? What does that question mean to you? And then the other thing you need to think about, if you're not considering possibilities or opportunities beyond anything you've considered up to this point, why not? But so what opportunities are you willing or considering? Maybe you're already looking some things. I talked to you in my first talk, and Sean mentioned it, and Scott mentioned it, and we've all pinged on it at various points. Is there's all kinds of new opportunities that are on the horizon, that are there, and that are going to come. And are you keeping your eyes open? Are you staring back at the door that closed, and maybe the business that you have that isn't going to be the same, and you're saying, okay, I got to work doubly hard. I'm not saying anybody's in the wrong business. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying maybe there's different things you can do in that business, or maybe there's a side hustle or other businesses or other things to kind of buffer, or maybe it's an investment. Todd, I get it. Financial, looking at your insurance, looking at your financial plan, looking at all these things. Those are reasonable things to do, new opportunities, because you fall into this muscle memory or this zombie mode. And then the thing that I would ask is kind of bring that to punctuate that is, what is the biggest obstacle I must overcome? I don't know what that is for you. For me, it's believe it or not, you may believe it, my own mindset. That's my biggest obstacle. Even though I'm constantly pushing towards, I still every day have to overcome my own zombie, my own desire to pull back into my comfort zone. That's my biggest obstacle, is to continue to push forward. So, are you committed? This is something, as you move out of this, it isn't like a one decision and then you're done. This is what are you committed? So COVID-19 is now part of our story. If you're looking at it as saying, if we can accept it as on the way, and you answer the questions in this, and you make a warrior commitment to look at the doors that are open and not just stare at the door that closed and keep moving forward, then that's kind of your warrior vision. And if you don't know what that means or looks at, then just, let's have a one-on-one. Or you can accept that this whole COVID thing was in the way, and you're just waiting for it to move out of the way so you can get back to what you're doing. I submit that committing to a journey of just, this is now part of our story, just like 2008 was part of my story, and I'm moving on, and the world's going to change, is kind of what you do. So, if you remember what I said a month ago, I said in 2008, and I want to give you this information because I just think this is fascinating. The top 5 companies by market value were Exxon, GE, Microsoft, AT&T, and Procter and Gamble. That's 1 through 5. 10 years later, after the crash, the top 5 companies are, or were, and pretty much are right now, Apple, Google, Microsoft's still there, Amazon, and Facebook. The only one that's still there in the top 5 companies by market value is what? Microsoft. And they're in the middle. But so it's fascinating to me. What are going to be, as you're looking for new possibilities, as you're looking to go forward, are there things that you can do? Whether it's investing money, time, learning about things. What are things? Things like what we talked about before. Things like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. A lot of these companies came into being after the last crash, and there are all kinds of ones. Think about all the things, the big changes that have occurred. I've been talking to Lisa Head about travel. You think, okay, well, travel is all messed up, right? All the planes and everything else. No, there are companies and things that may be positioned to take us to a new place when it comes to travel and experiences. And when you think about education, all the students, we got Tyler on here who's finishing his graduation. He's doing it remote, right? You're doing it in the classes. And and my daughter's doing the same thing. And that's become a new normal that maybe some are thinking is temporarily for teachers and students of all different types. But you know what? I think that's going to be the new normal. And it's going to be just like our networking group. There's going to be a blend, a hybrid of that that's going to be part of the educational experience. And then the question is, if you take that to the next step, is what kind of technologies, tools, companies, capabilities might come in and make that even more powerful. One that I'm looking at is, virtual reality and augmented reality and the whole shopping experience and a number of those kinds of things. Those are things that the gamers understand, but it ain't about gaming. It's just like cell phones aren't about cell phones anymore, or phones anymore. They're about things. So anyway, there's just all kinds of opportunities. So again, I really want to encourage you to do that. I wrote this little quote here, and I apologize if you got an earlier version, downloaded an earlier version of the worksheet. I had a couple of typos, so I want to say, but I just want to leave you with this. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses, yet we move forward. These highs and these lows are all part of who we are up to this point, and yet they provide a foundation for our path forward. Every day we battle our inner zombie, as well as those zombies in our world that seek to hold us back. But warriors move forward. My dream is to fight alongside warriors and witness the achievement of all they can imagine. That's my statement. I had to sit down and think about what it is. So I know that those of you who've heard me talk about this stuff before know that that's a new one. It's a new way of saying it, and it's come out of this. So I'm leaving you with this, and then we can open up for discussion. I'm not seeing the time because it's my thing fell off. But anyway, what you can do is reach out to me if you want to get to me one-on-one. If you're in New York, Tyler, or if you're anywhere else, go to myvisionwarrior.com. It's a booking site. Thanks, Randy. And or email me at david@myvisionwarrior.com, or you can call or text me on my mobile. I'm totally want to be accessible. And as you go through these worksheets and stuff, set up a one-on-one. One of the things that I'm talking about, I'm going to unshare my screen now, so I can open it up, and I'm putting everybody back on grid. Is that as you go through this worksheet and you get in touch with that and you think of possibilities or opportunities or things that you've discovered or things that you've learned that you think would be of value, in about 3 weeks, I think we're going to have a Friday session where I'm going to invite a few of you, probably we'll see, to talk about 5 minutes about kind of a recap of their takeaways from that worksheet to share with the group, and that, about things that maybe we all could benefit from in terms of thinking in opportunities. I really want us to focus forward. I really want to challenge everybody here, including myself, to look beyond the things that I've looked at before and not just try to get back to what was, but try to create something much bigger and larger than it is today. So thanks for your time. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And I'm going to open it up. So if y'all, I can see. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks. I see the quiet hand claps, that the finger snaps and all that. Thank you guys. Any questions Let's see, what time is it? Okay, so we got about 10 minutes. So I'll give you, we'll do about 5 minutes of questions. I hope to have a little more time than that. But I'm actually, like I said, we're going to have a whole session around um, things maybe that you've taken away from this and put into practice in your life in about 3 weeks. So that's my plan. So anyway, anybody have anything, questions, observations? Just do a hand raise or wave at me or whatever it might be. Ricky Jean, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Well, I glean a lot from what you said because I was inspired that even though I was, so to speak, locked down, trapped, kind of from what things that I really wanted to do is get out there and share my music and live performances. I took the opportunity to self-evaluate and to make things better and to fix things that were not broken, but they just could be better. And I wound up with a to-do list that I started marking off, and I guess you would say that I actually turned lemons into lemonade. So
Yes, you have. Actually, I'm very. I've observed you in this, and that we've been pretty close through this journey, and I have to say that's truth. I've seen you do a lot of things that I've been amazed about, so I appreciate that. Mark Weber, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed is the distances have gone away. Um, we can visit other states. We aren't limited by our walls. Some of the limits we had were almost imaginary now
Yep.
because I can see, um, for example, church services changing. Other are the way we offer our services. I'm not limited to just an immediate geographic area. Um, I'm having a chance to reach out to meet more people, and it's easier to get to and from meetings because there's
Sure.
not any commute.
I just
So
got to
it's
remember to put my pants on. That's all, right? So,
or not stand up or
or
turn
not
off the
stand up
video.
in the public.
Yeah, I was kind of playing with two cameras there for a second, but yeah, there's opportunities there. It's kind of a paradigm shift, and I think this aspect will still remain with our meetings. I don't think we can go back to only in person. I think it's going to be going forward. We're going to have there's an online virtual aspect that will continue, and we'll be able to do more one-to-ones and get to know people more in depth.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome opportunity. I think you're exactly right. Who else? Anybody else? Any other? Bob Grenchick, go ahead and unmute yourself. Nope. Okay.
There.
There you go.
Yes. Well, Dave, I want to thank you for the one-to-one, and I'll tag to that with Mark here. As I told you in our one-to-one, I've moved to Fort Worth since 2015, and I haven't been able to even be at the meeting. But Zoom has made that possible, and I've really enjoyed being back here on Friday afternoons with you guys. So, yeah.
It's been awesome having you, and it was great one-on-one as well. Lisa, you can unmute yourself. I saw you waving.
Right. Well, I think one of the things, just as far as what you took us through today, these are a lot of the questions that I've been trying to ask myself through this. And I even did a talk, I'm not sure if you heard it on last Monday night, on some of these questions to ask yourself on, what habits do you need to break? What habits do you need to establish? What rhythms in our life determine a lot. And you're asking the really hard questions on this that I think for me, I can like procrastinate and say, okay, I'll come back and I'll do that later. And then later doesn't come because a lot of times we don't want to sit down and take the time to think or get really honest with ourselves. So to me, it's part of that zombie mindset that you talk about. And I just really appreciate this. And I'm going to commit to going through this and really using it as part of my way to think more about, different angles or maybe things I hadn't thought of yet. A lot of this is just putting it on paper of the things I've been thinking and writing in a notebook and stuff. So you're spot on. I really appreciate this.
Well, and I appreciate you, and that I mean, you're a leader, you're a warrior. Everybody, like I said, I feel everybody here are warriors. So I kind of almost feel like, being in church and having been a choir director, I many times feel like I'm preaching to the choir when I talk to you guys. But all I'm saying is I think it's really important to remind ourselves, and then the fact of writing it down and then taking it seriously. And I have to do the same thing. I mean, actually, I did this, was going through this for myself, because when it's all in my head and I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking that's changed, this changed. I have ADD. I can't get focused. So just breaking it down, because back to one of the things, it's good to have a good vision and have the vision and know where you're headed. But what are the next steps? And what are the things that I got to leverage? And what are the goals? The goals will then follow that, right? If you make those kind of high level states, I'm gonna stop this, I'm gonna start this, I'm gonna do this, then you can put together a decent roadmap to get there, right? And look at the possibilities. So that's beautiful. Okay, so it's 12:56. I want to make sure I give you guys the kind of the promo for next week. I just announced the meeting while we were in our pre-meeting warm up at 11:30. Jill Lublin is going to be here. If you haven't seen her before, she was with us back in I think maybe October of 2018. It's been a long time, but she's out on the West Coast. She has been on stages, worked with all kinds of people, but she is a PR maven. She is somebody, if you want to get, I don't know if you remember before the COVID, I talked about finding and building your dream audience and who that is and stuff. Jill is somebody, if you getting ready to do a book, if you've got a podcast, if you've got something, a message you want to get out, a cause, whatever it might be, you want to be at next week's session. And actually, kind of getting some of these questions answered before next week's session will help you take and put what she's going to talk to you about into action, or know what part of what she'll talk to you about next week is worth jumping into. So anyway, so I would encourage you to do that. The week after, we have a speaker lined up, and then the week after that on Friday, my current intention is to do this little lessons learned workshop or whatever, whether we do it in person or still do it via Zoom. That's open. Right now, you can assume everything's on Zoom, because we still aren't allowed to get enough people together to make it worth gathering. So just so you know, so nobody has to freak out about that. Any other announcements? Again, I'm always I know you guys, thank you for being here and just participating in this and being part of it. It means more to me than you realize. And Tyler, thanks for coming all the way from New York. You're definitely the furthest traveled here. Randy, did you have anything? I see your finger up. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you, just for me, can you resend the worksheet?
Sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm going to send a reminder out for next week's meetings anyway. So I'll attach, or I'll send a link. There's actually a link in the other email. It's not on the one that I send via Meetup. I can't attach a file, so it's a link to a Dropbox file that you can get. So anyway, any other critical John, you got something critical, or are you ready to go?
This is a reminder, today is Armed Forces Day. So if you want to thank all my fellow veterans, but if you have a veteran in your family, be sure and thank him. You bet.
Yep. Honor our veterans, honor our, you know what? I think, it's great to focus on groups, and I've got a son that's in the Air Force, and and I appreciate that. But you know what? I'm honoring all of you guys too. Everybody here, we're all kind of, we may not be stocking grocery shelves or first responders or working in the doctor's office, but I think we're all powering through this. And so I would just say, going through this weekend, find somebody, that you maybe haven't had an opportunity just to tell them that you appreciate them, whether they're
Like our mother.
I'm sorry, like our mothers on Mother's Day. Yeah, don't forget your mothers on Mother's Day. I made a critical error. My daughter, of my 3 granddaughters, is a mother, and my youngest granddaughter, her youngest granddaughter's birthday is on Mother's Day. So I was all focused on her birthday and forgot that so I've managed to recover from that. But
Don't forget our hairstylists.
yeah, I'm going to really appreciate mine today. She's going to get a
Me
big
too.
So anyway, but appreciate you guys.
We're all
We're officially, it's
keeping
one.
with your presentation.
Oh, thanks guys. I'm going to unmute everybody. We're now officially over. I've stopped the